After presenting a significant economic development in the 1990s until 2007, Spain felt strongly the impact of the global economic crisis that started in 2008. This crisis still scars the Spanish people with the high unemployment rate, especially among young people, and high public debt. But how could a superpower of yesteryear have suffered so much with these debts that mark to this day? Is it a lack of government money? Lack of parental management? Break in the stock exchange in Spain? Default on agreements with other countries? That's what we're going to find out in this video. My name is Gabriel, and welcome to the Swift Economy channel. From the year 2008, the world entered a major global economic crisis, and its main cause is originally attributed to the North American crisis. But would this be the main trigger for this event? The 2008 crisis began due to real estate speculation in the United States. It was the so-called bubble, caused by an abusive increase in property values. By reaching prices well above the market, the sector ended up collapsing, as the overvaluation was not accompanied by the financial capacity of citizens to bear the costs. Thus, mortgages ended up not having the expected liquidity, that is, there was an economic downturn due to the increase in interest rates and inflation. All this on account of financial assets, that is, the means by which creditor companies negotiate debts with banks, entrepreneurs, and financial institutions. However, in the case of the United States, the lack of liquidity brought risks of default, the so-called subprime. It was second-tier financing. But something happened that made the whole situation even worse. The government adopted measures to combat inflation, such as reducing credits, that is, the purchase and sale of real estate that was so attractive in the past ended up collapsing, with a considerable devaluation. This all ended up turning into a big snowball, as it brought down consumption, reduced profits, and mass layoffs. The failure of Lehman Brothers Bank brought the crisis to its height. Stocks plummeted, bonds were devalued, and the population was left at the mercy of government efforts to change the situation. But unfortunately, 2 years later, the financial crisis hit the European Union, with impacts on the devaluation of the euro and the increase in debts of some countries, such as Greece, Portugal, Italy, and the protagonist of this video, Spain. Spain faced a severe recession, with an increase in unemployment, a reduction in the gross domestic product, GDP, and an impacting increase in the public debt, culminating in the fall of the country's budget. Given that the real estate sector grew faster than the economy internal market, it was predictable that this bubble would quickly burst. Until then, unemployment reached 27% of the population in 2012, and the sudden collapse of the construction sector that employed 1 in 7 Spaniards, which was the engine of its growth, left its economy in a very fragile situation. Its growth model based on dependence on the tourism sectors and mainly real estate construction showed the low competitiveness of its economy, which has entered a serious recession. The government, to ease the recession, began to increase public spending momentarily. Furthermore, the Spanish banks that had made most of the risky loans to the real estate sector were on the verge of collapse in 2012, a few years after the bubble burst. That's why the European Union had to make an emergency plan of €100 billion to save these banks. The Spanish government had to nationalize 8 financial institutions that were on the verge of bankruptcy to avoid a further recession and spend $115 billion to reorganize their banking sector. But and now, does Spain have salvation? Faced with such a crisis, Spain finally started to recover from 2014 onwards, after reforms in its labor market, which allowed more flexible working conditions to improve the competitiveness of the economy and reduce temporary work contracts that were very relevant in the Spanish economy, and is the highest rate among European nations, due to the cost of its labor. The economic reforms of recent years, mainly public spending cuts, are already having the desired effect. The recovery of other European countries is also helping the Spanish economy. Spain is the 17th largest economy in the most recent data, 2021, point to a resumption of Spanish GDP growth due to the control of the pandemic in the new coronavirus. The Spaniards still have a very promising future ahead of them if they keep up the pace of growth, and they are certainly on the right track. If you liked the video, leave your like to continue motivating our channel to continue making videos like this for you every day. And don't forget to subscribe to receive our daily videos. Thank you so much for watching this far, a big hug and until the next video.